MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Good morning and welcome to the Mid-Morning Park on MBCI TV, the 16th day of November 2022. I hope you are doing fine wherever you are. Welcome to this program which brings you on light regarding various issues, be it political, economic, scientific, technology, name them. Welcome to the Mid-Morning Park this Wednesday. My name is Paul Kagi, and today I have two gentlemen who are going to help us to be able to put to light various issues that we have lined up for you this day. We have Mr. Anthony Mwidaga, who is a politician, and Irongo Gishohi, who is a political and economic analyst. But before then, today we have a day where we have various issues that are lined up for you from the government and from other sectors. A day whereby voting of IALA, members of parliament, is going to happen at both Parliament, National Assembly and the Senate. A day where Kenya Kwanza parliamentary group is meeting to be able to iron out some issues that are at hand. Yesterday we had a meeting with the Kenya Kwanza Brigade. This is a day where this world's billionaire, Mr. Bill Gates, is in Kenya. Yesterday he was at Makueni County and he met the governor there. He is here on a very big mission looking at the issues of the health, education and other issues. Today we are aware that the court has really stopped the vetting of the PSs, but as we are speaking right now, the PS vetting is still going on at the National Assembly. Today we also have an issue at hand whereby there has been a petition to oust the 4 IEBC commissioners. There has been filed 2 petitions at the National Assembly. So it's a matter that is still very urgent in our national arena. And finally, we have a week whereby we're experiencing the rise of insecurity in our nation is one of the issues we are going to handle. Welcome again to this program. And remember, if you want to talk to us, you can do that via our SMS number is not right this time, but we have our WhatsApp number 0721 105 105. You can also catch on us on FB, MBCI TV, and then YouTube, MBCI TV Official. We have 3 issues we want to put on the table today. 1, regarding the rise of criminal cases in the country and gangs. Number 2, the fate of the CDF fund. And finally, on the climate change. Welcome again. Without wasting much time, let me welcome our 2 guests, Mr. Anthony Mwidaga. Karibu sana in our show this morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Yes, I give you 1 minute to say hi to the audience.
Good morning, my fellow Kenyans. My name is Anthony Mwidaga, resident of Nakuru for the last 51 years. And I'm happy that I've been allowed to come over here to join my friend Irongo and the MBCI fraternity to share on a few things that are affecting our nation. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Rongo.
Good morning, viewers. My name is Irongo Gishohi. I'm a political and economic analyst. I'm happy to be part of you today as we elaborate on the issues that are delivered in this country. I thank you, Paul Kagi, for the invite. Thank you.
Okay, you're most welcome. And I think all of us are very aware that we are talking about the issue of the insecurity. But before we continue, I want to pose this question to our audience. What has contributed to the rise of criminal gangs across the country? We are asking you, can you tell us, what do you think has really contributed to the rise of the criminal gangs across the country? You can post your answer on 0721 105 105. What has really contributed to the rise of criminal gangs across the country? Post your response on 0721 105 and 105. Now, I believe that we are aware that we are having a big challenge in our country right now, especially in our big cities, whereby some group of young people, the gangs are all over, harassing residents who are very innocent. And I know yesterday the security CS, Kithure Kindiki, really downplayed the issue, that there's no that serious situation. Do you think, according to where you come from, we are having a challenge in our security setup?
I think there is a challenge in the security setup because we cannot bury our heads in the sand and say there is no insecurity, and we have been experiencing insecurity. I'm sure you have encountered a security situation. Either you have visited a family that has been affected, either one of their families has died or has been maimed by the criminal gangs. So we cannot bury our heads in the sand and say there is no insecurity. There is a lot of insecurity. And even apart from the insecurity in the towns and the urban centers, insecurity is even in the villages, whereby criminal gangs are stealing even livestock, they are stealing cows, goats, they're even harvesting maize. It's very unfortunate that somebody plants maize and avocados, beans, and another person comes at night and harvests the same. So insecurity is everywhere, unless the government want to pretend that there is no insecurity.
Yes. What do you say, Mr. Muidaga?
I agree with Mr. Irungu that there is a security situation in our country, and it's a major problem. For CS Kindike Kithure to downplay that we don't have a problem is a very serious stem of ignorance. Because the truth is, he's saying that he's well protected. Most of our CSs, our MPs, our leaders, the top cream are protected. We are here on our own saying that these things are not happening, yet we live with them every day. A few days I was at Ororongai, and they were telling me now we have to spend most of our nights outside because we are afraid people will come into our fields and harvest without our permission. It's a stealing.
Those harvesting, are they gangs or are people who are hungry?
Of course, they're hungry people. In the process of probably trying to fight them back, you get maimed. And you know, we have this issue of, I'm sure we have an act that regulates weapons. And I want to be very frank here and now that even the people who sell knives and machetes out in the streets, it needs to be regulated. Because these are weapons, and they're readily and easily available. So that each time you go probably to the shop, you'll be asked this question: how many do you want, and for what reason, and what the purpose for buying more than one? I'm sure this way we'll be able to regulate and probably mitigate the problems we have out there. Because given the fact that knives are out here, and we're not using guns, that is even more lethal and dangerous.
I think there are some reasons why we are experiencing these security lapses in our cities and in the villages. But yesterday there has been a talk of the police go slow, which again the CS for Internal Security said is not there. So what do you think it has just come abrupt that we are experiencing this kind of environment?
I think that is that issue of whereby we had 9 policemen who are accused of extrajudicial killings. The issue is still in court. I'm sure you have seen that. And I tend to believe that now policemen are afraid, because if I encounter thieves and the criminal gangs, and maybe I shoot them because they are also armed with dangerous weapons, then I'll be hauled into the courts, like the 9 policemen, the 9 police officers that are currently in court
with
the DCI. So I think that issue may not augur well with the police force, because there is that element of fear. So like another day I saw our police commander saying they are arresting criminals, and once the criminals are taken to court, they are usually bailed out, they are given bail. So once a criminal gang or a criminal is taken to court and then they are given bail, they continue with the activities. Because of course now they have paid money to the courts. They have to refund that money. So I think our laws are supposed to be regulated in such a way that we don't protect criminal gangs.
And Mr. Muidaga, do you think we are demoralizing our officers in terms of maybe threatening them on line of their duty and other things?
Absolutely. You see, this is one group of persons that go out to defend us, to protect us. And you know, they too have families. I mean, their families would be worried if they ever get wind that probably the husband is being hunted by a criminal gang he's trying to get rid of. And so for Japheth Koome, it's unfortunate, very unfortunate for the new IG to make such a statement where he asked people to give him a month. And let me say it here and now, that is why I've always admired President Kagame. He doesn't take chances. If you want to act on an issue, you do it right there.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Japheth Koome should do. Giving them that leeway, as much as we want to be as lenient as possible, because humanly possible. But then we need to act immediately, because we're also dealing with very clever people. You know, they always produce new ways of doing things. So by giving them a month, you're probably asking them to spread over to other places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there has been an issue of the violation of human rights by the police officers. And again, the police officers have been complaining that when we kill maybe a suspected gangster, the human rights bodies are all over us, that we are violating the human rights. But they're also saying that when we are killed by these gangs, no one comes to defend us, you know. They're asking now, we as police officers, we don't have human rights? Do you think it's true that we are so much focused on what they do or what they have done rather than what is being done to them? Is there anybody who comes up to fight for them?
Yeah, I think also that's also a thorn in the flesh in this country. Because when it comes to human rights, is there a human right for a certain group of people and then other people don't have human rights? Because even the policemen and the police officers, our uniformed officers, they also have families. They also need to be loved. When you say that if a criminal is killed because he had weapons, the police officer is arrested, is hooded into the courts, is charged with extrajudicial killings. What about when the criminals kill and maim innocent people? Isn't that also human rights for those people, policemen and the others? So I think they are also the human rights activists. I think sometimes they tend to be biased on one side of the criminals, and then they tend to ignore the other, that also police officers have their human rights. Yeah.
And there is,
I think it's a case of double-edged sword. And I agree with Irungu, because these are human beings. One, in the first place, this is a father. This is someone's son. This is someone's nephew. And he too has feelings. Because the unfortunate bit here is that, and this is what Mao Zedong said, though I don't agree with communist ideologies, hit where you least expect them. An officer is killed, and then the next thing you do is that you give him a 21-gun salute. But when he kills a criminal, he's hounded in courts. The next thing, he's jailed. And that's the end of the family. Because even if the family tried to find a way to redeem themselves, it would be hard. Finding your way to the corridors of Virgil House is almost a nightmare. I think we need to drop this ideology of doublespeak.
Yeah.
Let us treat each one of them as a human being. One has been given the job to do, another one has decided it's not going to work. So the case of doublespeak has to end.
IPOA has a role to play, and then has a share to be blamed?
It has a share to be blamed, because it takes sides. As much as we are talking about this, because they tend to also humiliate police officers who have done their duties. Yeah, it's very sad for IPOA to do that kind of thing. They need to come out boldly and also defend them. Where there is need to defend them, they need to defend them.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you say wrong about IPOA?
IPOA also we have to apportion some blame with IPOA, because IPOA is also a government institution that is supposed to do its work well. But when they are always targeting the police officers and saying, oh, this police officer is using excessive force, or it's carrying out extrajudicial killings, then I think the same IPOA, which is supposed to regulate the police, is the one that is being biased. Instead of course, it has a legal mandate of protecting the public against the extrajudicial killings and even the criminals. But also, IPOA is supposed also to protect the needs of the policemen and even their working conditions. So I can also say that we apportion some blame on the IPOA. Yes.
Let us reflect a little bit about the situations of our police officers. And sometimes they blame that they are not treated well. Where do you think the government has failed in terms of improving their services, their welfare? Where have we been going wrong in terms of checking on the affairs of our police officers? Maybe which will motivate them to be able to do their works better.
I tend to think we have underplayed this thing for the longest time. You know, this man is expected, this man or woman is expected to protect you. Yeah, in that big mansion that you have there, he knows the kind of, your status, you're a rich man. But when he goes back home, he goes into an iron sheet house somewhere. I've seen them in Lanette. And I think until recently, they have not made any improvements on police housing. At Kasarani here, you found 2 families. And
within one house?
Yeah,
One
and
house,
yeah.
You have your wife and I have my wife. And she wants to go and shower.
Wow.
It's pathetic. I think we tend to have the attitude towards that. I don't think we value them at all, because I don't think you do have 2 families into one house and knowing we have problems as human beings.
The issue has taken too long.
It's taken too long, but nobody wants to speak out. I've done that on Facebook. Of course, I've received condemnation, measure, but I'll not stop doing that, because they're human beings. I expect when I call that police officer, I want him to respond, and respond positively. Sometimes he'll tell you, no, it's not possible. We don't have fuel. I have a family issue. And it's true, if you have a family issue, there's no way he would respond to that. He's a human being. You see, all this boils down to one thing: civic education. How many times do we sit together with the police officers and have a candid chat on issues? But let's forget about even issues of crime and all that. Sit down and have candid discussion on the way to go forward. Because then nobody will ever report to the police officer anything is happening. Because you're trying to protect Irungu, trying to protect Kagi. Because Kagi gives me a share of what he gets out there. So all these things boils down to one thing: civic education.
Yes, and the government had promised them they are going to increase their salaries. I don't know what percent, maybe 50, and they have gone silent on that matter.
I think the issue of salary it might be tricky, because if you ask me, in Kenya, everybody wants a salary increase, including you and me. So the issue of salary, it might be a tricky thing, and I'm sure it cannot be done immediately. However, His Excellency the Deputy President, Mr. Rigathi Gachagua, promised that they are going to look into the issue and possibly come out with a framework of reviewing the police salaries. What I want to add on top of what Mr. Anthony has said is that policemen and women, our boys in blue, they live in very pathetic conditions. I happen to live with one of my cousins who was a police officer, and I stayed with him for like 6 months, and it was very chaotic and pathetic. When you share a house, 2 people, and you have families, you are sharing a kitchen, you are sharing the bathroom, the washroom, the toilets, it becomes chaotic. Because sometimes you find that your wives will continue fighting. I want to use the kitchen right now, the other wife wants to use the kitchen. Maybe the child says, I'm hungry, I want to cook me an egg or cook some tea. You find the other families in the kitchen.
So you use the kitchen in shifts?
Yeah, they usually use the kitchen in shifts. But you know, sometimes women may not understand. The husband, the men can understand. But a woman, when I want this, I want this. I want to bathe, I want to go somewhere. So you find that there is a lot of conflicts. And that's why sometimes, even there have been reported cases of immorality. Because sometimes maybe one man has a wife, the other one doesn't have a wife. And maybe the one with the wife is working at night, and the other man who is not working at night is left in the house with somebody's wife. So there have been cases of of immorality and maybe adultery. And sometimes the cases went extreme, because when the other officer learns that his friend officer, they are living with his, maybe having an affair with the wife, Then you find that this officer comes and shoots the other officer.
Yeah.
There have been those cases. It's only that sometimes they are usually hidden. But I saw, like I told you, I lived with the police, with a cousin of mine who was a police officer for 6 months. I saw a lot of chaos there. So I think we need to maybe uplift the dignity of this policeman. I would rather you are given a 10 by 10 house or 5 by 5 feet house alone, so that you have at least your own personal dignity.
And I believe one of the areas the government should put a lot of money in their budget is the Department of Security, which comprises the affairs of police, their salaries, their housing, their schemes, their insurance, and all this. I think it can really help us to be able to improve on the security of our nation.
And there's no question about that, Mr. Kagi, because why is the police service asking for an increment of salaries, given the fact that we have SRC, the Salary Regulation Commission?
Yeah.
All this stems from one group of persons, Parliament, a very selfish group, because each time they want their salaries increased, it's a full house.
Yeah.
Right? But when it comes to these other people, public servants, nobody agitates for that. It is all about themselves. If they don't get that, they'll always have the muscle, and they'll have their way. I think about a month ago, you heard what they were saying, because they wanted that increased, but not in these economic times when everybody's facing hardship. So you want an increment, well, somebody else asks for that, naambia nyamaza. You wait, you'll get your chance. That is wrong. These divisions have to end. Otherwise, we'll have what we call a mutiny, and that is also dangerous for the country. And let's not run away from this. This is the plain truth. We are realists, and that's the plain truth.
Yeah, and I think one of the measures that were put by the government in the previous governments to be able to improve in terms of security, relationship between police and public, was the issue of community policing. These days, you rarely hear people talking about community policing. Does it mean it didn't work, or it was not effective? What happened to community policing?
I think the issue of community policing, the government did not have, as per se, goodwill. Because the government, I usually see those booths called community policing, community policing, somewhere. But I think the issue, sometimes policemen and our officers, sometimes they don't exhibit that friendliness. Like if you go to in a police officer, I'm sure you Paul and Anthony, you have ever gone to a police station.
Yes.
And the people you find there, they are usually not friendly. If you try, you want to go and report something, you see they are very rough on you, and you only came to maybe to report something, or maybe to take an abstract, maybe your identity card is lost. Then the way they approach you, even if you wanted to tell them something, you feel
the reception is very poor.
They are unfriendly. They are unfriendly. So I think that's one of the things that can make the community policing not work, because everything that must be done in this country.
So they have themselves really killed that policy.
Yeah, they are the ones who are killing that, whatever. Yeah, because many people, you can go to report something, and at the end maybe either you are told, how did you know that so and so is stealing? Then maybe you are told you are an accomplice. So that's why you see people are usually afraid. Even if you go, now when you are coming from this place, you go, you pass this place called Bondeni, and maybe you find a dead person. If you go to report, you'll be the first suspect. They arrest you and tell you, where are you going when you saw the dead body? So the police sometimes tend to not to act not to act well, or when they don't accept you, when they feel as if you come to bother them. So that's why the public, many people don't like going to police stations. And I can tell you for free, many people don't like going there, because the attitude you find there, it is not welcome. Yeah.
I think it's a case of a failed relations mechanism. Yes, community policing is ideal. Unfortunately, I'm afraid if I'm going to report the criminal, the next thing I'll find him in the streets, because his family or his accomplices have given out money to the police. And in this case, we're talking of the OCS, the OCPD. So it becomes hard to maintain such a good idea.
Okay.
It becomes difficult.
Right.
Yeah, because I don't want to be found in my house by the same, attacked by the same criminal. I thought I'd reported. And I thought that the authorities had taken charge of the whole situation. So people are afraid, they hold back any report they may have.
All right. Dear viewer, what are your contributions towards the topic this morning? What has contributed to the rise of criminal gangs in the country? What has contributed to the rise of criminal gang in the country? You can talk to us. Our WhatsApp number 0721 105 and 105. You can also catch us on our FB. If you have a friend who is very far, you can give them our FB, that is MBCI TV, and then YouTube we are live, MBCI TV official. Today we are speaking with two gentlemen here. We have Mr. Anthony Mwithaga, who is a politician, and Irungu Gishohi, who is a political and economic analyst. We are trying to enlighten ourselves on various issues that are of a great beneficial to you. Kwa hivyo talk to us on 0721 105 105. Right, before we end this topic, let's go back now to the gangs. It is not the first time when we are experiencing some gangs in our cities and in our towns. Not only in Nairobi, in Nakuru, in Mount Kenya towns, in Kiambu, Murang'a, even in Kisii, all those areas. There has been some gangs even during Kibaki's era. Right now, it's like they are energizing themselves again to come up, but in a new style. Lately, we had these guys called the Confirm, yes, in Nakuru County, and they were a little bit submerged, but they are again trying to regroup themselves. Now, the issue of gangs is really troubling our society. And I was trying to check the same situation as we're speaking right now is really troubling South Africa, especially in their towns, whereby most of the South African cities are dominated and controlled by gangs, right? So what are you going to do? Because if we are not careful, we are going to find ourselves in South Africans' way, Johannesburg, to be able to maim these gangs. Maybe.
We have allowed politicians to have their way. I've been one of them. Luckily, I don't have a gun. I have voters, and I hope that next time they'll do that. Now, politicians have created these ones for purposes of, political ends. It's unfortunate because, again, they also have money to maintain them. Just a small group. But you see, slowly by slowly, these groups recruit others. Unknowingly, they end up in that group. And this is what has been happening in South Africa. And I don't know why Ramaphosa has not been able to manage these. But you see, at the end of the day, we don't want to harm that political base. Because if you rise up against it, the next time they'll tell you, Rongo will not give you a vote. Yeah, you dented the whole economic idea that we had of attacking people. So politicians have right on this, and we have allowed it to go on. And I do not think there's any government that has the goodwill, because it is about the goodwill, to end it. And if today Kenya were to be attacked by Uganda, like Muhoozi said, and you see all Kenyans were up against him, which means even the government was ready to act. Why don't we have the same goodwill to get rid of these gangs? And this is what I said. As soon as our students finish O-level, they should be sent to NYS, National Youth Service. That used to happen. They need to go there. Look at all the persons who've gone through NYS. When they come out, they're disciplined, they're clean, and they just want to earn a decent living. And that's
I hear Israel do this.
It's the same thing.
Even Nigeria.
It's the same thing.
Even
it's the
Nigeria,
same thing. Why did we shelve that idea? So we allow our young men and women to leave school once they've finished high school, and allow them to find refuge in the cybers, in the, what do you call this? Where we have some funny shows. They'll watch all kinds of movies.
The movies,
The movie, the movie booths. So they'll watch all kinds of movies, even movies on how to form gangs, right? So what will stop them from implementing that idea.
So I think I have two issues.
Before you continue, I'm informed you need to go for a short break, and then we'll come back and dig deeper on this matter. So we want to take a short break, and when we're coming back, we want to really talk more about the gangs in our country. But as we do that, yes.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Gari inaenda Tanzania. Ikifika pale kwenye mpaka kwa bahati mbaya ikaweza kupata ajali pale, watu wafariki. Sasa serikali inafaa kuchukua wale mahututi wa wazike, ama kila mwanafamilia aende akachukue mtu wake amzike?
Si ni mtu achukue mtu anayemhusu akamzike. Na ugharamia gharama yake, si ndio hiyo?
Serikali inastahili kutangaza, wenyewe watajitokeza. Serikali ichukue hatua, kama ni mahututi wapeleke kwenye chumba cha kuhifadhi maiti. Kama ni mahututi wapeleke kwenye chumba cha kuhifadhi maiti.
I love you. Question tag yake ni
I really. Ukweli.
So is that true? No. So is that true? I said no.
Give us the question tag of I love you.
I love you. Yes. Love me, I?
Okay, no, I'm sorry.
Kurathima andu aku turaire na ruoro ingi minyamaro na kiangai ni waturokera. Bwana asifiwe. Huyu ni Njeru Thiga, na kama ungependa wimbo huu uje kwenye simu yako kama skiza, unabonyeza *811 *406#. Unabonyeza *811 406#. Si Bwana atakubariki. Wow.
Thou Kingly School. Our commitment is to assist every child accomplish their dreams today. We are thrilled about shaping their future and assisting them in fulfilling their potential to reach their aspirations. Our teachers and staff at Thou Kingly School are capable of guiding students to achieve their full potential. Thou Kingly School offers both day and boarding, founded on Christian principles. Thou Kingly offers CBC curriculum for PP1 to grade 6. We have also been certified and approved by the Ministry of Education to host junior secondary school, which are classes 7, 8, and 9. Our school has got highly trained and qualified teaching and non-teaching staff. We have well-equipped science laboratories, home science facilities, a well-equipped computer laboratory, and French lessons, all designed to make your child stand above the rest by acquiring both theoretical and practical skills. Our dormitories give your boarding child a home-away-from-home experience with a strict, balanced diet menu. Thou Kingly School operates a well-maintained fleet of school buses and vans to pick up and drop off pupils. Among our co-curricular activities are music, soccer, and many more. Thou Kingly School is located in Mailisita Township along the Nakuru-Nyahururu Road in Nakuru County. Interviews and admissions for the January intake are ongoing. Pupils from PP1 all the way to the junior secondary are welcome. For more information, contact us on 0799 977 331. 0799 977 331. Thou Kingly School, transforming minds.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Welcome back to the mid-morning pack. And before we continue, our SMS number is WhatsApp 0721105105. Before, gentlemen, we continue with the topic, I want to read an SMS which is very, very detailed here. This guy says, good morning. I am Orwa Felix, a student at KCA University, main campus in Duaraka Survey, Kenya, one of the most affected areas in criminal cases, with cases of comrades being stabbed and robbed. I feel what has led to the insecurity issues is the fact that the youths had high expectations in the government, who during their campaigns promised a lot of them, including job opportunities. Now that they have no more hope in this, they resort to criminal activities. He continues, the government should focus on mental health. The level of hunger has also risen in the country. The hustling nation is so hungry and jobless and poor. Standard of living is so high. The economy is at its worst point. You can also send us your SMS 0721105105. Yeah.
Thank you.
How do you feel about this comment here?
The comment is viable.
Coming from a comrade.
From a comrade is a student, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think he has a point. Currently, the economy is doing badly. We must say that, and we must admit. However, I don't think that since the economy is doing badly, that is a license to engage in criminal activities. I think that is not morally right. However, like the government has reiterated, the president said that he will be launching the Hustlers Fund on 1st December. And of course, I saw the central bank giving out the parameters that are supposed to be met before one accesses the Hustlers Fund. What I want to tell my friend, the comrade who has just talked, who has just sent an SMS, is that they must give the government some time so that it can lay out the policies. Because I can say is that currently the economy is doing badly, but now you cannot wake up one day and maybe make the economy to go back to the way it used to be during Kebake's time. So I think the economy, before you make an economy, is a process, isn't it? I am sure you agree with me that before the economy comes back, there is a process. So I think everybody and Kenyans should give this government some time so that they can enact the policies. There are so many policies that are being made. I understand that His Excellency the President has held 126 meetings in the 2 months he has been in office. So I think he's aggressive and he has a goodwill. So the only people I don't know about is the people working with him. Those ones I'm not sure. But the President himself, I know he has a goodwill and he is aggressive.
Yeah.
He's going to turn around this.
Do you have something to add on this?
Yes, I agree with is it Orwa?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Orwa, because we politicians make too many promises in the hope that once I'm elected, I'll be able to do 1 or 2, 3 things, But then you realize, reality hits you, and you begin seeing things, from a very different perspective. What he's saying is true. We are going through some of the most ruthless economic times, where everything seems to have shot up. It is true what Irungu has said, that benefit of doubt. It's good to give the president that benefit of doubt. But then the people working with him must be prepared to go all the way so that it doesn't become the president's job. Because at the end of the day, it's true, the president, the buck stops with the president, but you see, he'll not go down alone.
Yeah.
He'll go down together with those people. So that, the goodwill, and this is what I've been talking, I think, right from the moment we started. Most governments lack that goodwill. And you have people who went out. I don't think it's just the president who went out to say those things. You have your foot soldiers who even went out to tell people, we promise you heaven. The moment we get in, heaven will be here tomorrow. And you realize Hades visits first. So what do you tell people? The heat of reality hits them and they have no choice. They have to find other ways. Although I agree, morally it's not right to resort to crime.
Because of
I'm sure that I'm sure they have people they can sit together with, elders in the villages, just to find a way out of this quagmire. Yes.
Okay. Now, before we were talking about the gangs, and we had mentioned that this challenge has been there in Johannesburg and other towns in South Africa. And if you are not careful, we can easily slip towards that direction. So these gangs have been there before, during Kibaki's time, I think even during Uhuru's time, and they have been submerged in a way. Now, how do we go about it? How do we now decide as a nation we are going to deal with these gangs? Is there a way out?
Like before we went for break, I was saying that we need a minister or a cabinet secretary who is firm and ruthless. If you remember, like I was saying, is that during Mishoki's time, we used to know Mishoki as a bulldozer, as a person who acts very fast. Like I remember during his tenure, there was a lot of criminal gangs. Some were called Sungu Sungu, some were called Mongike,
Chingororo.
Some were called Chingororo, some were called Sabaot Land Defense Forces. We hardly hear them today because they were all silenced. So I think also the issue of a cabinet secretary and the IG, the Inspector General of Police, they must be firm. If you are an Inspector General of Police or you are a cabinet secretary and you are very lenient, I don't think you will win this war. Because if during Michoki's time we were able to contain these marauding gangs, then why can't we do it right now? And another thing, I think that also our laws, our courts, sometimes they are very lenient. Sometimes you arrest, I saw that we arrested the terrorists that bombed Westgate, the other ones that bombed Garissa University. And either they are given, some were jailed 7 years, some were released on bond, 2 million shillings. So when you release a criminal, a terrorist, with 2 million shillings, he will continue with his terrorist attacks, isn't it? So I think some of these laws are very lenient, and we should not allow them. We should review the laws. We should review actually even the jail terms. If a person kills 50 people, why is he jailed for 7 years? After 7 years, he will come out and continue with his killing. Why can't we jail them 70 years, 110 years? Like I saw one Charles Taylor, he was jailed for 110 years by the ICC, International Criminal Court, because of crimes against humanity. So let people be jailed 100 years, even 200 years, so that you die in the... No, we can review the acts. All the laws can... If we want to review the Constitution, why can't we review the laws? So that those criminals can either pay very hefty fines, like 1 billion shillings, of which maybe somebody might not be able to pay, or he ends up, like I saw one of the members of parliament, he was jailed for 67 years. And by the way, now he's more than 50 years. So by the time he'll be coming out, he'll be more than 120
There are very strict laws regarding to the corruption cases.
Why can't we also, just like we have stringent laws regarding corruption cases, why can't we also steal them on the terrorist and marauding gangs?
The greatest nightmare in this country is corruption and weak governance. And given the rate at which crime is increasing in this country, especially from the younger cadre, is that soon will overtake Mexico. To me, Mexico, the people in that country, the criminal gangs, have shed more blood than its water bodies. And I think that's the direction we are taking. We are also lacking what we call an honest national debate. Because I think, for me, the president should also take that route. We should have an honest national debate, disseminated to all counties, so that people discuss this issue. It's a serious issue. If we keep ignoring it and throwing it under the carpet, it will grow hairs and you won't be able to control it. Once the prehensile tentacles out there of this monster called the crime octopus, it will be hard to tame it.
I was trying to review the previous government, starting from Kibaki, Uhuru, now Ruto. There seems to be a certain culture whereby when the government is formed, the new government is formed, there is a huge challenge of security. And if I remember very well, there was a huge security challenge with Kibaki's government regarding the Mungiki.
Yeah, I remember.
Which was really a headache to them.
Yeah, but also it was contained by then Mishuki, who is late.
Yeah. Yeah. Then it came to Uhuru. There was a huge security challenge regarding to terrorism. You remember?
Yeah, terrorism.
When Olelenku was the minister for security.
There was that Westgate attack, Garissa University, and others. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Kagi, why would the IG, the new IG, stand in front of these cameras and tell us we are giving them a month? Mishuki never used to do that.
Yeah.
We need to develop this no-nonsense attitude when it comes to security.
Yes.
We are talking about this country. If this country falls off the cliff, we'll have simply gone the Rwandan way. And I don't think there's anybody who would wish us to go the Rwandan way, because you won't stop them. Because a vast majority of them are not political agitators, they're criminals. So they'll find their way into your houses, they'll steal, they'll rob, they'll rape, they'll do all sorts of things. I don't think this country is prepared for that direction. But we can only, it can only go that direction if we don't have that goodwill from the government and all the president's men.
Yeah. Plus, maybe to add on that, sometimes you find that politicians, sometimes they are the ones who pay the bail. If certain criminals are arrested and they are taken to court, you find that a politician goes and bails them out. Even the issue of cattle rustling, I understand there are some politicians who are behind it.
Yeah.
So when the politician, of course politicians are usually untouchable. You cannot touch them. So I think, plus also, I can also blame the voters and the electorate. When you elect people who you know are sympathizers of criminals, you are doing a disservice to yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're actually an accomplice.
Yeah, you are an accomplice. Yeah. Why are you electing, like now in Kenya, many people who are corrupt are the ones who are governors, senators, members of parliament.
Yeah. It's a very weird culture.
It's a very weird culture and very immoral, if you ask me. Weird is on the lower side. Let us use the word immoral. It's a very immoral culture. Because when you elect criminals, when you elect sympathizers of criminals, it means that you are very happy when you have criminals in the society. That's what I can say.
All right. Now, before I give you maybe a minute to give us a way forward, I want to read some SMSs here. This guy is saying that increase of the number of Form 4 leavers in the villages, plus unemployment, plus the drug abuse equals increase of gangs. You hear that?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think finally there's a guy saying that he's getting us from Ongatarongai. If you want to talk to us, then you can use our WhatsApp number 0721 105 105. Tell us what has really contributed to the rise of criminal gangs across the country. What has really contributed to the increase and the rise of criminal gangs across the country. 0721 105 105 is our WhatsApp number. So, a way forward in 1 minute.
What about that question?
Maybe, and then you give us a way forward.
What became of our vocational programs?
Yeah.
Because you see, we have all these youth out there, they've just finished high school, and many of them, and they're idle. But if we come up again, we revive the vocational program, I'm sure that in a way we'll be able to mitigate this. Yeah. Okay. And you heard what I said. The idea of joining NYS is a brilliant idea.
Yeah, because when the guys before we went to university used to pass through NYS, and the guys were really disciplined, focused.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
So I think also the county governments, this is where the county governments are supposed to come in. When like these guys from, they finish Form 4, they are usually idle. Why can't we give them something to do? Like we can involve them in sports. We can, like now we can put Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi like here in Nakuru town. So that in other towns like Naivasha, Gilgil, the sub-counties, we can put free Wi-Fi so that these guys can come and access the free Wi-Fi, and maybe they can do things like writing. Nowadays, you can write and get some money.
Yeah,
you can do all sorts of things in the internet. At least, and maybe stop being idle.
Yeah.
So that maybe before you join university or colleges, you can be at least. Or also, let us engage the youths who are idle in sports. Like, and maybe we can use churches, we can use vocational training centers. They go there, do sports. And then maybe we keep them busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I agree with the Rongo. I agree with the Rongo.
On the side of government?
Yes, because you see, the idea is to keep them busy.
Yeah.
Right? We have the music festivals, like you said, we have the sports, we have the games. They just need to be kept busy throughout the year. Because anytime we have a loophole, that's when they take advantage of that. They meet as groups, and you know, in most cases, these peer groups mislead each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
and
you end up with...
What should the government now do regarding this matter? An immediate action. What do you think?
The immediate action, what I can say is what I just said earlier, is that we try to keep them busy, so that, or maybe we introduce the NYS issue. If we have that NYS issue, such that when you finish Form 4, by January or February you get into NYS.
Yeah.
It can be made compulsory, like in Nigeria, they usually do that. It's compulsory to go to NYS before you go to you just finish Form 4. You get into NYS like 2 years. You work for the government. You know how NYS works.
Yes.
Then now when you come out from NYS, you know at least they give you short courses like driving, mechanics, around those things like hair and beauty. That's those kind of short courses.
And
even before you go
skilled.
to you get a skill. If you become you know how to do welding, you know how to shave. You know how to do whatever beauty, and then like hair, doing beauty with the hair, so those kind of things. At least you have a short course before you transit into the university. So even if maybe you will not go to university because maybe your parents don't have money, at least you have a short course. You can be employed somewhere. Maybe you have done driving, you have driving skills. You can be employed as a driver. Yeah.
Great.
I think, like I said, when the park started, it is all about the goodwill. Is the government prepared to go that direction? You know, there's a moment when you swallow your pride and you have no choice. Yes, we made promises, but it seems like some of these promises will not work. But can we get into one of these ways of getting rid of crime? Swallow our pride, find a way out of this quagmire, because the more, you see, next year we'll have people graduating from O level. Where do you take them? And we need to agree NYS is the best direction. Yes.
Yeah, very well. And I think we can come close to that as we look on another issue regarding the NCDF, CDF, the NGCDF.
National Government Constituency Development Fund.
You know, this fund was brought in by Kibaki's government, 2002, is it?
Yes,
2002. And I think it was a great brain to come up with CDF. But before we continue, let us reflect on the journey of CDF. Now we have many years using the CDF. Because we have been there, we have seen it in our villages, in our town estates. Can you give us talk of what you have done with our CDF fund? Can you say in a big percent it has really developed our country, or we are still struggling with it? How far have we gone with CDF?
CDF
in terms of development.
CDF was God sent, if I may be allowed to use those words, because before CDF came, there was a lot of problems in this country and in our constituencies. And I remember, because I was still around, although I was not so big, but I was a little bit. I was interested in politics and in governance. We used to see that there were some places like, if I may quote, like Baringo and like northeastern provinces, like Mandera, Wajir, northeastern provinces. They used to be marginalized. You could hardly, you used to go there and find that children were learning under the trees. There were no blackboards, there were no schools. Students were going to help themselves in the bush. There were no toilets. So when CDF came, and CDF, they are usually, our members of parliament are usually given 100 million every year. So for the 5 years that a member of parliament have been elected, they are usually given 500 million. So when the CDF came, that's when we saw majority of those marginalized areas, marginalized constituencies and the marginalized county governments, they started having facilities. Like roads, like schools, like toilets, like even chief's camp. Majority of chief's camp and chief offices are usually done by CDF. So the CDF has turned this country into a habitable place. Many children who are learning under the trees nowadays have a shelter. They have classes, yeah. But so I think it was a good and brilliant idea.
But I usually ask myself one question. Yeah. For all those years since 2002, I think the major focus on CDF was regarding to improvement of education, which was great. Yeah. But I'm still worried that we can get some clips of some areas in this country, as you're saying, whereby there are still some people
learning under trees.
Yeah. They are sitting on stones at this era. And then we have been having this money from 2002, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes I ask myself questions I don't have answers.
CDF was a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Started by one engineer, Karoi. Yeah. And as you've just rightly put it, it was meant for what we call bursary scheme education.
That was the
original idea. You know, mock exams, continuous assessment exams, you know, and looking out for the welfare of bright but needy children, because we have needy, but we're not bright. We have bright, but we're not needy. It's, you know, it's a question of balance. Our attitude towards it, some of the MPs know nothing about it. So they have allowed cronies to come in and become the players. So they tell Lirongo, if you want this bursary, I'll give you 60. Pale wandike 60, but you'll get 20.
Yeah.
The rest, that person keeps it.
Yeah. Wow.
So we used it as a conduit of corruption. And you, hoping that, because when we had the act changed in 2015, so that it now reads as NG, National Government Stroke, CDF, is because of trying to curb corruption.
Yeah.
You know, where you award your friends, family friends, and your cronies.
Yeah.
That was not the idea. So somewhere along the way, MPs took advantage of that money, because some have even used the money to campaign. You know, I will win this election.
Yes.
So I grabbed 20 million from the CDF, rush out there, bribe voters, go back to Parliament, find a way of getting the loan and repaying this. So all these things have to be looked into. And this is the reason why, and I think the Supreme Court decided, no, it's not going to go this way. We have to find a mechanism to make it legal so that whoever messes with it will have to face the law.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do you think Supreme Court really was playing politics, or there has been some challenges? Yeah, because right now the MPs are really pushing hard to have it come back.
Unfortunately, for a new MP, he doesn't know what to tell their constituents. That CDF is not there. You got used to giving people handouts during elections. Now you don't know what to tell them. Someone here is looking for school fees, uniform, probably, you know, has rent arrears. What do you do with this kind of money?
And before you continue, one thing I have observed with CDF, you may correct me on this, is that this money is the big percent goes for bursaries even right now. 100 million shillings are quite a huge money.
Yeah.
So going for education purposes, I think we are not justice to other people, all right? Maybe CDF should help roads, all those things, but big percent goes to the academic. And I was feeling then, if this money is maybe 80% goes to academic, it should be changed to become a bursary scheme.
That's why I said it was called bursary scheme education.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you remember when Kibaki came in, we had so many children who were still at home. They're not able to access education. So at the end of the day, it was all about the urban privileged.
Yeah.
You know, this was a portion for the urban privileged. So here we have rural children who want to go to school, and they're ready to go to school, but they cannot access it because they don't have money.
Yeah.
They don't have food. So this is why the initiative.
And where is the disconnect between now the, let me call it bursary scheme, and the free primary and secondary education around? Because we have this free primary education and secondary education.
Yeah.
If there's catering for these academics, then why again should we use the CDF money for bursaries? I think we should focus on one side academics, the CDF goes for development. I think we should, in the act that we are trying to create right now, should be able to bring distinction,
I think because there was no explanation right from the word go. You know, the excitement we normally have with these new things, Kenyans are like that.
Yeah.
We get excited by new things. Then we get a shock after 20 years that it's not constitutional. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Though the original idea was a bursary scheme education, period.
So I think also the issue of corruption has been brought into the NGCDF. Like you said, there are some schools, I mean, there are some students that learn under the trees at this century, 22nd century, and still there is that issue of CDF. So somehow, sometimes you find that, like he said, like Anthony said, there is that issue of there is no goodwill. Maybe a member of parliament is given, because they are usually given, all of them, between 100 million and 125 million per year, because it comes to around 620 million per the 5 years. A member of parliament is a member of parliament in his term. But sometimes you find that the money is diverted to other uses. Like here in Nakuru, I usually go around, I see the CDF is the one that is used to do perimeter walls in the schools. I am sure you have seen.
Yeah.
It is used to construct toilets. It is used to construct, to add several classes in a primary school, secondary school. It is used to buy, to purchase buses for schools, secondary schools, primary schools. So I think it's good. It's only that sometimes when, like we said, I have to apportion blame to the electorate or the voters. When you elect somebody who is corrupt, then you must face the consequences.
Yeah.
Because choices have consequences.
Very true.
If you fail to elect a person who is straight, and there are so many leaders who are good, but you find that sometimes we elect people with tainted images, with tainted past. Their past is known. This person is a criminal. This person is a thief or is a corrupt person. And then you find that instead of electing a good person, you elect the same people, with tainted images. So I think we have to live with the consequences.
And we have a challenge with the management of the CDF in terms of the CDF committee and MPs.
Yes.
Who is supposed to manage this fund?
You have a committee.
Yeah.
You have to have that committee. Unfortunately, the same committee inflates some of these bills. That perimeter wall was supposed to cost about 400,000 or 500,000, depending, right? But at the end of the day, when the report comes out, we are able to spend 1.5, just one perimeter wall in one school. Wow. And you have all these schools around, You have St. Joseph's, you have Freehold, you have Kisulisuli. If you're to do that, you probably you consume the entire 100 million because of vested interest. People have vested interest. So I have Irongo, I'll ask Irongo, you bring your bill and I'll give you your 500,000, but I'll keep my 1 million. So at the end of the day, it's the ideology of trying to make good of the 100 million ends there.
Yeah.
Because it's a conduit of making money.
Irongo, I think you are aware that the MPs are really pushing hard to have the law enacted because the Supreme Court really declared the CDF as unconstitutional. And now they are pushing hard to have it now enacted in the law to avoid the issue of court. Why are they pushing so hard? In fact, they have said they are not going for recess until they have the CDF.
And they will not pass any budget. They will not pass any bill before that issue is looked at.
Yeah.
They have said that.
Are they not putting us hostage?
Not just us, but even the president is under siege because what is he going to do? You see, MPs always have their way.
Yeah.
And that's what I said. It's one, I'm sorry to put it this way, it's one rock group that will always have its way. If they want to increase their salaries, and once they increase their salaries, it has what we call spiral effects. Because everybody else would be out in the street saying,
we want salary increase.
Yes, haki yetu. And you won't stop that.
Yeah.
And if it happens now, believe me, the momentum will go all the way. So they become very selfish.
Like if I can add on that, we saw in the previous government that they started with the teachers. The teachers said haki yetu. They went on strike.
Yeah.
The next thing, the doctors went on strike. The nurses went on strike. The police went on strike, although it was a go-slow. No policemen, you cannot see them in the streets. It becomes chaotic. But they were on a go-slow. I remember very well. I'm sure you remember. So once we start that trajectory of haki yetu and we want salary increment, like I said, as we started the show, is that although the government has that goodwill, they want to increase the police salary.
Yeah.
But the police cannot go on strike because if we start that trajectory, all the other people will come on and start saying, oh, you also want, we want, all civil servants will go on the streets. And I'm sure the government does not have money right now. So I think what the members of parliament want, they want to hold this country and even the president at ransom, so that they have their way and have the CDF back. They also, you know, the SRC, the Salaries and Regulation Commission,
yes,
they scrapped off the committee's allowances.
Yeah,
they were scrapped. Although now they have said, the members of parliament have said that they are going to make them come back. So I think the members of parliament also use the CDF to campaign for themselves. Because when like members of parliament come and say, now in this constituency we are giving bursaries of 20 million, you know, the common mwananchi or the people in the villages know that, oh, mbunge ndio anatusaidia kusomesha watoto wetu. They don't understand that the money comes from government. And actually even for the bursaries, you know, the bursary comes from Nairobi, written bursary, 80 million. It is not that it is given to the member of parliament and then maybe he writes it as a bursary. Checks come as bursaries. So you have to give those checks. So they come from the exchequer. But now the people in the villages, of course, they are not so much educated. They don't know. They think, oh, our member of parliament is very good. If it is not for this member of parliament, my children will not go to school. Yeah. So that's where the members of parliament are now taking credit where they are not supposed to be.
Yeah.
And that's why they make sure that they want to make sure that the CDF comes back.
Yeah. Allow me to add to what he has just said. I'm sure we all know what a kindergarten is like. And our parliament has just become one huge kindergarten where a baby cries and gets what he wants. At the end of the day, they are forgetting that other groups of people, the public servants, will also want to agitate for a salary increase. Yeah. So what will happen? You're holding us hostage. And everybody who wants an increase will not even stop. Teachers are prepared to go out in the streets. Doctors, lecturers, everybody will be out there. Even police, they have the right because they are confined to what we call the Bill of Rights, you know, Chapter 4. Because first and foremost, they're human beings, though they have their fundamental rights and limitations. I mean, the freedoms they have is only that they're police officers, and you don't expect to find a police officer with a placard, haki yetu.
Of course,
But the blame goes to parliament. They're so selfish.
Now, because now they want to pass the law in parliament, if it were you, what kind of changes would you love to be brought in the CDF management, or maybe the laws in CDF, to make it more effective and helpful to the wananchi?
I think I would not agitate for the CDF to be scrapped, but maybe I would want it maybe to be decentralized, to come to the counties, so that maybe the governor and the members of county assembly can handle the CDF.
Not MPs?
Not the members of parliament. Members of parliament, let them do the oversight. Let them come and go around their constituency and say, this road was done. Was it done well? They approve, they say the road was done well. The classrooms in this primary school were done. Are they done well? That is the oversight. But the issue of CDF, I would rather it to be decentralized to the counties, so that the governor, you know, you see, the member of county assembly knows everywhere in his ward. You know, our ward is not a big thing. So our members of county assembly know the wards. They know the problems. They know the children who don't go to schools because of school fees. Because a member of county assembly is like a chief. You know, chiefs know everybody, and assistant chiefs. They know everybody. This child is a disabled child. This child doesn't go to school. This child is sleeping hungry. They know. So if we decentralize the CDF, it can work better, more than it can work with the members of the National Assembly.
The tragedy is the day we allow the MPs to handle cash. That's the day sanity ended in this country. Because they take advantage. I mean, I want to fight Irongo. How else? And I don't have money. So I can borrow from the CDF. I'm the signatory. Use it to do that kind of work.
Yeah, I think, we continue. The issue of the Senate also, I hear they want also to have an oversight fund.
Yeah.
I don't know to do what. You see?
Or taking care of.
The same case to the MCAs, but everybody's like want to have certain kind of a fund. Yeah. You see?
Honestly speaking.
Even the women rep.
Even the women rep.
Yeah.
Can't give. How many senators do you have in this country? 47, isn't it?
Yes.
Women rep, 47. Right? Governors?
47.
Deputy governors?
47.
MPs?
MPs are 290.
Yeah, and you still want a fund for them. I think, to me, they should have brought an end to the life of a Senate. Because at times, they're not able to do that. You have a senator and a governor who dine and wine together. What do you expect? He'll always defend you. He or she will defend you. Yeah. There's no way. There's no way you let you be mauled by those guys. No way. No way.
Yeah.
So, to me, I think we should have just stayed with our parliament. The National Assembly was enough because there's duplication of roles. And this is the same story with the MP, governor, you know, the county government. And that has been a big problem. Because where does your jurisdiction end?
Yeah.
And where does it start? Yeah.
I think what you are lacking, and I think when they were creating the National Assembly and the Senate, the two houses, there was, you remember there was a lot of fight between, which is the upper house, the lower house.
The lower house, yeah.
You know, one house should have been there to counter-check the other. You know, there's two houses, they have no one to counter-check them, what they do. That is what you are lacking. I think if you go to developed countries, they have a mechanism of the way the lower and the upper house can be able to counter-check the other. Is what we are lacking right now.
If we start a high school, assume it's called Irongo Primary School, right? I'm the headmaster, but then Irongo comes in as the principal. He will always be my superior.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's the problem with our parliament and senate. You know, the feeling of I'm the big brother here, but the big brother without money. And that is why senators are running back to parliament and some to become governors.
They are the big brothers.
Yeah, they're big brothers, but they don't do that.
They don't have money.
And they realize they don't have money. So what do I tell the younger brother? There's no food tonight.
Yeah.
So they run back to parliament and to some becoming governors.
It's like now they are working together.
It's
somehow they are working together. And that's why even I saw the Speaker of the National Assembly saying that they are going to look at that issue of the Senators' Oversight Fund, so that our big brother doesn't stay hungry. You know.
But where is that money going to come from, Kagi?
Of course, it will come from the exchequer. It will come from the public coffers. So you expect our taxes to rise, and of course you expect when taxes get increased, you know, they come, the masses, the poor people, and the public coffers are the ones who bear the brunt. Yeah, so I think that issue.
I think that's overlooking the aspect of physical austerity.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, yes, it is true, you know, the economic demands may demand that we increase our taxes, but at the end of the day, who bears the brunt? The common man.
The common
man, who at 18, having just turned 18, is expected to pay taxes and doesn't have a job.
Yeah. How do you pay taxes without a job?
I just don't understand. This country has become a miracle country.
For example, I saw, I may cut to you, Mr. Kagi. I saw that it was said that people who are paying taxes are earning 7 million, but the people who operate M-Pesa accounts are like 30 million.
30 million.
But you know, there are some people who operate M-Pesa, but this money comes from maybe their relatives abroad, or maybe their relatives who are maybe wealthy or they are working. And then, like, if you send your mother 5,000 shillings, do you want to tell me that the government will follow your mother in the villages to tell her, oh, you are sent 5,000, can you pay tax? I mean, what is that?
Something needs to be looked into.
Maybe they have a wisdom. I don't know.
I'm saying,
there was wisdom behind that.
How do you follow my mother at the village and tell her, hey, your son sent you 20,000 from abroad, and maybe some of these women in the villages are usually sick. They have, you know, when you clock at the age of 50, 55, 60, you have diabetes, you have arthritis, you have high blood pressure.
Cancer is here.
Cancer is there. So when you are sending 10,000 or 20,000 to your sick mother,
and then the government is following her, now the government will start turning to be like the criminal gangs. You are following to get this money unjustly. Because this woman did not work for this money. She was only given that money.
For support.
So, yeah, for support, food and medicine. So when suddenly you want to come and force her to pay taxes, I think I can call it abuse of common sense. Yeah.
Okay, we will be looking at another issue because our time is far much gone. And remember, our dear viewer, you are watching Mid Morning Park here at MBCI TV. We have two gentlemen, Anthony Mwithaga, who is a politician, and Irungu Gishohi, who is a political economic analyst. We are looking at several issues that are affecting our country. And now we want to go to the last issue regarding the climate change. But before we go there, let me see who has really sent an SMS. There was Jessica following from Ruiru. Rise of economy is an each to one. Mwananchi wa kawaida, most of us, we are employed, we have business, and our salary is ever from hand to mouth and nothing more. When we fail to work one day or so, our kids will have nothing to put on the table. I wish the government could review the servant salaries paid by some of the companies and also bring the price of consumers down, right? Because some of us, we are suffering qua ground, yeah? Salary, maisha inaenda juu, but the salaries
are always
constant.
Yeah.
That is the main problem here.
Yeah.
And then there's a guy here who is saying that waambie serikali warudishe kazi mtaani au waanze kujenga ma industries, at least vijana waajiriwe au waweke ma irrigation kila county. That's a great wisdom.
Good.
Yeah? Yeah. I think the major solution to our problems, especially in unemployment, the main is industries.
Yes.
I thought I didn't mention that we need to have an honest national debate.
Yeah.
From this national debate, we'll get such ideas.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they're the guys who are suffering.
But who is ready for that? Who wants to face the people? Who wants to face the masses after giving out all those promises? No, I don't think there's any government prepared. There's no government prepared to face the masses.
Because they have good solutions for their problems.
Have.
They know what they need.
Yeah. But where are they going to channel them through? It's hard.
Okay. Maybe I can add on that before we go to the next. Is that sometimes the government, like my friend Anthony said, the government sometimes lack goodwill to help the poor people or to help the youths. For example, I was interacting with a certain lady who sells. The lady sells eggs and sausages, smokies with a katroli. Yeah. You see them, eh? And then I was asking her, does the government charge you for selling your stuffs? And then they said yes. They are usually charged 300 shillings per month. How do you follow a poor person selling eggs, 20 shilling eggs? You want to collect taxes. Why? I mean, why can't they be allowed to operate at least maybe, and if the government was really committed to assisting the youth, just like in the BBI, they were saying that when the students come from the universities and colleges, they will be given 7 years, they will not pay taxes. Yeah. So even if the BBI never saw the light of day because it was rejected by even the country, even the courts. However, why can't we at least leave these people, these low people, like you want to follow a person with a bicycle, boda, not the motorbike. Motorbike, they have some money, at least they can be able to pay taxes. They pay, I think, 400 cents per month. But sometimes even you find that the government still wants to follow the boda people with a bicycle. A person who carries 20 shillings, 30 shillings, maybe in the evening he has carried 300 shillings. You want to follow that 300 shillings of a poor person, you want to tax it. For what? So I think the government should allow these people at least to work for some time before they can start maybe charging them. Yeah. So that even at least they can, a small girl selling sausage, in the evening maybe she sells a packet of sausages. She makes 100 shillings or 300 shillings. You want to follow her and then start telling her to pay tax. Why?
That one
unless you want to kill that girl.
Bonairongo, that one is even lucky. Yeah. The 18-year-old who has just finished high school, where do you expect him to get money to pay taxes?
Of course, it is undoable.
Yes, he's just turned 18. He's out there, doesn't even know where to go.
All right, we can come to the close of that matter for now. Then we go to the last issue because we have like 15 minutes to be able to end the program. But if you are watching us wherever you are, you can give us your sentiments regarding this question. What has contributed to the rise of criminal gangs across the country? What has contributed to the rise of criminal gangs in our country? Our SMS number is in WhatsApp, 0721 105 105. Together with us, we have Anthony Mwidhaga, who is a politician, and Irungu Gishohi, a political and economic analyst. My name is Paul Kagi. We want to talk a little bit about the issue of climate change, and I believe wherever you are, you bear witness that we are having a challenge in our climate, which is a bit it's not rigid the way it used to be there before, but the issue is challenging even our crop production and many other things, and we're experiencing famine. I want to go to Anthony regarding to the issue of climate change. Would you confirm, because you are a Kenyan and you know how you have been living for the several years, that Kenya is experiencing a serious climate change?
That is true, Bwana Kagi. Given the recent actions where people have had to get, receive relief food.
Yeah.
I don't know whether, but I want to believe that a vast majority of Kenyans are aware that we are party to what we call the Paris Agreement of December 28th, 2016, on what we call GHG. That's the gas emissions. The most unfortunate thing is that we have allowed people to go into our forests, right? Pull down these trees for economic gain. And some go there without permission because they have bribed an officer or they've bribed the entire chain, right? The others are still in the forest. We are taking up forest land to compensate. It's a very sad story.
Yeah.
Now we're just about to introduce what worked for us in the days, those old days, the Shamba system. With the change of dynamics, the problem is that we have new attitudes. You've allowed us to do the Shamba system, but I'm admiring this oak tree. Officer, you keep this 100K, let me bring it down. And that's exactly what that person will do. So slowly by slowly, and you're already aware that the tragedy in this country is that our forest cover is less than 10%.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Very little.
Yeah, and okay, there's been an effort, a genuine effort, but not so much has been done. I went to Bomet, and I don't know whether that forest is called Chela or something. Those people are saying...
Mount Forest?
No, not Mount Forest. It's a forest in Bomet. There's nothing. They don't even have a single tree. Yeah? Yet we have our Kakamega forest, Eburu forest, we have the Dondori forest. If we don't take care of our forests, what Professor Wangari Maathai said once, nature is unforgiving. And we don't know what we'll tell our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren.
Yeah.
Yeah, there has to be that goodwill, that commitment. It doesn't matter who this is. If he's messing with our forests, this person has to be put behind bars and jailed for 100 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. There should be no mercy in regard to what is the future of this country.
And for the first time you hear that the counties like Meru,
yes,
in some regions within that county, they're experiencing severe drought for the first time. Yeah. Even in Nyeri County, where people almost the whole of the year, they experience a cold weather.
Yeah. Kagi, we have beautiful ideas on paper. Economic blueprint, magnificent. They say some of our economic blueprints are the best. But that commitment, that goodwill is not there.
The practical part of it.
Yeah, it's not there. Because I gave Irungu 300 or 3 million. Irungu goes and buys a new car. Yeah. You can harvest as much as you want. So you have, in the middle of the forest is bowed, But the rest, if you look at the rest of the forest is, we have trees. But in the middle there's nothing. There's nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. And that goodwill is what is needed in this country. It's just that political goodwill. Have no mercy on anybody, whether this is your crony, whether this is your friend. Take a stand like President Paul Kagame. No nonsense.
Your take on our climate changes?
Our climate change, we have a problem with, and we have a problem. It's actually a national disaster. Because, like you have seen, currently we have like 5 million people who are hungry, who can't afford to eat food. They have to be given the relief food. We have seen that 2.5 million domestic animals have died in this year alone. We have also seen that a lot of wild animals, actually 110 elephants have died, 30 giraffes, and a host of antelopes, warthogs, zebras, they have died in thousands. So the issue of climate change is a thorn in the flesh of this country. However, I can also call it an international disaster, if you allow me, because this issue is not only a Kenyan issue; it is a global issue.
Yeah.
And I also saw that over 120 leaders, world leaders, they congregated into Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. Yeah. Actually, the meeting will be ending on 18th. They started the meeting from 6th of November. It will be ending on 18th of November. And they had they came up with good policies of mitigating the climate risks. However, what I don't understand, like Anthony said, is that we can always go to meetings, drink tea, come with economic blueprints, policies, but is there goodwill to effect those? Now, is there practical goodwill to effect these changes? For example, they were saying that every country, every nation must endeavor to plant trees in billions, so that at least, for example, our president said that we are planning to, he is going to initiate the planting of 15 billion trees in Kenya. It is doable. However, the only problem I saw is that, like right now, if you want to plant a tree, you have to water the tree. Yeah. And do you know in Kenya, 65% of the population, that is 35 million, they don't have clean water. True. In Kenya, 65%. Only around 35% of the population, that is 15 million, they have clean water, piped water, clean water for drinking and for domestic use. Yeah. So if we were to plant those trees, how are we going to water them, since we don't have access to water? So I think there is a challenge. Although they are saying that the government is saying that it is going to try and plant more trees, 15 billion trees. Well, the last time I was checking, 15 billion trees, if you divide by 47 counties, each county is supposed to plant 320 million trees. 320 million trees. It might look like a pipe dream because of the issue of, like, if you go to Northeastern, if you plant a tree today, within a month or maybe a month or 2 months, the tree will have dried. Yes. There is no water. There is no water. We see pastoralists walking for several kilometers to find water for drinking and for giving animals. So I don't think that they will have water for watering a tree. But again, if the government has a goodwill to provide water, if water pans, dams, like I just saw in the newspaper yesterday, they were saying that there is a dam that is going to be constructed in Mwingi. It will cost the exchequer 450 billion. Billion, yeah. Of course, there are some people who will be relocated because it will take several farms. But I'm saying, even if we create that dam, and like you all know that we had Aro and Kimwadar Dam, we had Itare Dam here in Molo. It has never seen the light of day, and 40 billion was used. So we can even give Aro and Kimwadar, they said, how many billion? They said
73 or something.
They were saying 73, but not all of it was had been utilized. Yeah. They were saying, I think like 20 around there is the one that had been paid. So is there that goodwill? Even if the government can come up, we want to build dams, we want to pipe water. But the people maybe who are entrusted with that issue of maybe building those dams, when they hear 450 billion, there's some people who want to take like 50.
Yeah. There's a question of
just continue.
Yeah, there's a question of adaptive capacity and partnership.
Continue, Anthony.
Yeah, so there's a question of adaptive capacity and partnership. The unfortunate bit in this country is that we don't have that adaptive capacity. Yes. So that when a situation finds us, how do we confront it? Yeah. We don't have that. We wait until that situation has damaged the country, then we do what we call damage control. Secondly, I believe we can desalinate the Indian Ocean water and pump it. I was watching Israel and I was looking at one of the driest countries in the world. Yet today they have water, they recycle it. I mean, that's what we call adaptive capacity.
But many of our leaders have been there as a case study.
The so-called, in quotes, benchmarking. They go, like Irungu said, they go dine and wine, they enjoy the cocktails, they enjoy the, what do you call
the sceneries,
the ponds.
Yeah. And hefty allowances.
And yes, the per diem, they're out there on the beaches enjoying this, at the end of the day, they come back home and they tell us, we'll work on this.
Yes.
The next thing, it's all quiet. Yet we have that adaptive capacity, which we don't make good use of.
So you mean we can use Indian Ocean water?
Desalinate it and pipe it.
Really?
Believe me, we can even get it to northern eastern. Even the water, because we have a lot of water in Turkana. They're saying it can feed Africa. Well, it's salty, but we still desalinate it and spread it. And we have a resort city. Rather than going to Dubai, because we keep singing Dubai, Dubai, it's possible to turn our northeastern into another Dubai. We'll never have to pay the kind of money we pay in Dubai. It's possible. Put people together, let them understand, educate them, civic education, let them understand that we can make enough money here. This idea of importing money, exporting money is not a good idea when we have the capacity. Yes. But like we say, that practical goodwill is not there.
So I think the issue of climate change is a huge challenge. It has been there in our country for some time. I think the main challenge is that we have never been serious with conserving our environment, especially our ecosystem. We have never been serious. The issue of Mau has been there. Once we go to look at that issue of Mau, there is politics, right? Even there are some forests in Koibatek down there. Coast region, there are some forests, but we are never serious in conserving those forests. And I believe that is where we go wrong, right? I don't know who is supposed to be responsible when it comes to the issue of conserving environment. Yes, it's the government, but I think the forestry department has purely to carry the blame.
Yeah, because that work has been delegated to KFS.
To them,
yes.
Kenya Forest Service.
So they should be in the front to making sure that people observe those rules. The idea of cutting trees should be controlled. You remember when Uhuru came up with that moratorium? Of course, there are people who got affected. Because the danger is when we use, it's a double speak. I reward my friends, but I make sure I shut these other ones.
Of course,
So, but if this moratorium has a good, that attitude is good, then the idea of conserving our forests will be very easy. You control the way we do things. The ecological control, because there are times when you want to bring down trees for a certain purpose, like we used to do with the Webuye paper, for purposes of producing books, but that's not there. Whatever we have is purely for business.
Yes.
And this is where we all go wrong.
Now, finally, Irungu, regarding the government's program for constructing dams, do you think it has a big stake in climate conservation?
The issue of constructing dams will help the government in irrigation. For example, when I was checking that issue of, there's that dam in Mwingi that is going to be constructed with 450 billion.
Yes.
They were saying that 400,000 of the residents in Mwingi will do irrigation. So I think that's a positive trajectory, and I'm sure it will increase the food basket. Once we have 400,000 people doing irrigation, whether the rainfall will rain or not, we will see that we have food. And the president said that they are planning to build 100 dams by the end of the 5 years, the first term of his term in the office. So I think that is a positive trajectory, and I have to praise him for that. However, what I want to caution is that we don't want to go the Itare Dam, Aro and Kimarel way. Because the people, if prayers have one score, they can easily score another score and another. Because they are happy they have scored. So the people who misappropriated Itare Dam. Itare is in Molo, just here is in this county, and Aro and Kimarera and the others. They can still go ahead and misappropriate the funds for those 100 dams that the president said there. So I think what I want is just transparency. What I would wish is just transparency, because we are staring at a very an international disaster. When we continue destroying forests, it means that one day we shall have cleared the forests, there will be no rivers, there will be no water catchment areas.
Yes.
And it means that, you know, also the tree cover and forest cover, they are responsible for the rainfall we get that grow our crops. So if finally there is no rainfall that will be getting in this country, it means the drought will now, currently the drought is affecting 5 million people. But it means then in the future, more than 30 million will be affected.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why I saw the people who have applied for green card to come out of Kenya is 20 million. If you increase if you add their children, it comes to 30 million. So out of the 50 million Kenyans,
there are 20 million voters.
Only 20 million want to stay in this country. But it's because of the problems that are in this country.
Yeah.
And maybe because of the risks of the climate change. That maybe people are saying, people are looking and saying, hey, in the coming future, if we continue destroying our environment, then there will be no rainfall, there will be no crops. And maybe we saw a bag of maize was selling at 7,000. Maybe a bag of maize will go up to 20,000. Who afford? And we just read that our salaries are not increased, but the economy is going badly. The inflation, we were told that we will be given 100 shillings unga. It has never came to us. So I think that's why maybe people want to run away from this country. Yeah.
You know, all these things that have been happening, all these situations that we're experiencing are slowly by slowly eroding patriotism. We're no longer patriotic, and that is why Irungu said 30 million are leaving this country. If you as president were to get 30 million as voters, you'd really enjoy that. And I just want to revisit what I've said about desalinating water, Indian Ocean water, the Turkana water, so that we avoid having to spend so much on this story of dams that never get finished. You know, we still have those other pending ones, and here you're coming up with another one for 450 million. Please, don't play to the gallery. Yeah. Because Kenyans would definitely, they enjoy when they hear 450 billion. That's no pocket change. So I think it would be cheaper to desalinate and pipe it.
Right.
Yeah, and solve this problem of having to keep coming up with big inland lakes.
Maybe being told our time is far much gone, we need to close the program. But before we do that, I give you maybe 30 seconds. You can give any closing remarks regarding what we have discussed, maybe 30 seconds, and then we close the program.
Yeah, as we close, I want to say that I'm a member of a certain NGO called TEC. TEC is it's an NGO that seeks to plant trees in this country. Currently, we have 10 million trees that we want to distribute to the people. We can distribute them to schools, can distribute to institutions like schools, colleges, primary schools, secondary schools, and universities. We also distribute to the masses, the people who want to plant trees. If you say you want to plant trees, we give you like 10 trees, 20 trees, go and plant in your home. Yeah. We are trying to, at least to help. Like Wangari Maathai said, Professor Wangari Maathai said, she was a hummingbird. She was trying to do the little she can. Even if other people want to look and just don't do something, you just do something a little so that we mitigate the risk. Because climate change is now, like I said, is now not a national disaster. Yeah. It's actually an international disaster, Mr. Anthony, if you would allow me to say that. Yeah. Because by and by, if it goes out of hand, there will come a time when there will be no food in this country. There will come a time when we shall not have one living animal. You shall not have cows, you shall not have wildlife. And you see, we depend on animals for food also, for milk, for meat, for eggs. We also depend on the wild animals, like our elephants, like now we said they have died 110. Yeah. So they are dying. When our wild animals die, when, how will we get our foreign exchange from tourists? Yeah. So I think I should close on that.
Right.
Yeah. I think it is prudent upon our leaders to help us develop, renew the spirit of patriotism. by making sure that they honor their promises to the people of this country, because that burden is on their shoulder to make sure that they honor their promises, and promises that are realistic, right? Because there are promises they've made that will not work in this country, not now, not ever. So it's also good to have a limited, package that can work for this country. Go out knowing that you've been elected, that mandate has been put on your shoulder to serve the people of this country. If you've gone there with a spirit of self-aggrandizement, then you're in the wrong business. And Kenyans will have no choice but to vote you out. Secondly, I want people to develop the attitude of non-violence and peace. We still want to enjoy those things. Otherwise, no economic development can be achieved here. So, and I remember this is what Mandela said once: nobody was born hating. We learn to hate. And so if we can learn to hate, it means we can learn to love, because it comes naturally to our hearts.
Right.
Thank you, my fellow Kenyans.
Thank you, Anthony Mwidaga, politician, for finding time to come here today in our mid-morning park show. And Mr. Irungu Gishohi, who is a political and economic analyst, for even joining us this morning. We thank you so very much. Maybe you find time again, we invite you to come over. Dear viewer, I want to thank you so very much for watching us at the Mid-Morning Park this day. On behalf of my colleague Mangicho Mola, my name is Paul Kagi. Enjoy viewing the rest of our programs during the day. Bye for now.